Hi, I'm Morgan.
And I'm Jake, and this is
Neverland
Neverland
Navigation
Navigation
Radio.
Radio, where we get to the top of virgin lists. These are getting worse and worse.
Yeah, I thought you were going to plan this one.
I think I'm losing my mojo or something.
It's okay.
In the next episode, hopefully I can overcome this rut that I'm in. If anyone has any suggestions, I would love to hear them in the comments.
But they won't know the topic ahead of time.
Oh, well, they do for this one because we told them. Oh,
That's
you
true.
mean for the next one?
Yes.
Yeah, we don't even have it planned yet, so we can't drop any hints.
We have a list of like 50 ideas,
Yeah,
but we haven't picked one.
We haven't selected yet.
Yeah.
You got to keep things fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, how are you, Morgan?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm very immersed in the podcast vibe right now. Our video version of the podcast, video version of the podcast on the YouTube Neverland Navigation channel, can see that we're kind of like warmly lit, almost like it's like fireside or candlelight or something. It's a very cozy vibe in the podcast recording location today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm immersed in that, and our discussion will be equally immersive.
Awesome.
And I just hate when people throw that word around, don't you?
I don't know. You've said it 20 times, so
That's what I mean. That's the whole idea. Yeah, that's I think part of the fun of this conversation is that the word immersive has begun to be used so much to describe everything
really
that comes out in theme park, like
yeah,
at least some
but
details
things are
of it.
getting so much more immersive as time goes on.
Sometimes. But sometimes it's like
have you heard it
alien
used
swirling saucers or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if people are really describing that as immersive.
Oh, yeah, I doubt it.
Yeah. But I think
sometimes the bathrooms are even immersive.
Hey, that's kind of cool.
You know?
But are they immersive or are they just themed?
Like, okay, let me give you an example.
Okay.
All right. In the Space 220 bathroom, I'm not saying like, okay, so there are recordings that are playing over an intercom that make it feel like you're in a space station,
right?
Which is where you're supposed to be. So it's just like an announcer saying something like, if you need to do something, I can't think of the specifics, but it's like to make you feel like that's really where you are, which is cool.
If you need to throw out your space garbage, put it in the launch chute or whatever,
yes,
stuff like that.
That was a perfect example. Thank you. My brain was not going there.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I would
call that immersive.
That's an immersive bathroom.
Yeah.
For sure.
But like the bathroom wasn't really like super themed or anything, but just that element of it, and that those announcements are not playing throughout the restaurant or bar, just in the bathroom.
Exclusive bathroom recording sessions.
Hey.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, that's cool.
So
that's a cool level of
I haven't gotten annoyed at people calling things immersive, and then I'm going and thinking this isn't really immersive.
Oh, okay.
But if you have,
well, there will be no disappointment talking about the top 3
today
items that we're talking about today.
Right. And I only know of 2. Jake has a surprise.
If you're joining this program in progress, we spent our last 2 episodes going through our list of the most immersive lands throughout the Walt Disney World parks.
Right.
People. And today we are going to be finishing that list with the top of the top. It's fairly obvious to the both of us what our top 2 are going to be.
Well, yeah.
They're pretty universally regarded.
Right.
But
I think we actually mentioned that on the last episode, so I think everybody knows that's up to date.
Well, then let's get the train moving.
None of us know what yours is, because I feel like I've gone through everything.
Don't get your hopes up too high. It's just,
I was just like, I was walking around with my mom and Bailey, and I was like, I listed all the things we've already done, and then my top 2, and then I was like, there's nothing else, right?
Oh, man.
So
what if we already did talk about it and I just forgot?
None of the 3 of us could think of anything else, but I'm excited to hear.
All right.
We did come up with some guesses.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, before we start on our immersive lands, I would like to make a correction from something I said last week. And that's that I said I thought that the front of Hollywood Studios was modeled after, what did I say, Pan Am? but it's
Yes.
actually Pan Pacific Auditorium.
Mm.
So you can see why I got confused.
Didn't that burn down?
Okay, I don't know. That's why I thought it was Pan Am.
I don't mean. Sorry, I didn't mean to quiz you.
No, you're
I
good.
just wondered
You
if
mean
you
in real
knew
life in
offhand.
Hollywood or
Yes,
whatever?
yes, yes.
I don't.
I feel like I remember reading something about that. Anyway, thank you for that correction.
Yeah.
I'm sure Pan
Pacific
Pacific
Auditorium.
Auditorium appreciates the.
Sure, sure. I just don't want to, I want to do my best to, give correct information.
Absolutely, it's the responsible thing to do.
Uh-huh.
All right, should we move on to our number? I guess this is.
This is just for me, the number one spot was tied between the two. And again, I think
Oh,
we
is
already
that what
mentioned
it
them.
is? Okay.
Yeah. And then you're throwing in a question mark. So
Which one should we tackle first?
um I say we tackle Pandora first.
All right, that's
Yeah.
the lower one on my list as well. Well,
Oh, okay.
yours they were tied for you, but for me, this one was beneath the other one. So hey,
Yeah.
Pandora it is.
And if I really like sat down and took a lot of time to think about which deserves better, I might be able to separate them, but I haven't, because they're both, you're so in the middle of it.
Yeah, they definitely are like full scale environments.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Right. I think we have already discussed a bit in the previous versions or the previous installments of
Episodes, yeah.
this little series.
Uh-huh.
We talked a little bit about the backstory of Pandora. Actually, no, that was for a further back episode. But we talked a little bit about.
We talked about the backstory of the restaurant, I think,
Right.
not of the.
Although in talking about the backstory of the restaurant, you kind of get
the whole thing. Yeah.
You kind of get the whole thing. But we could touch on it again real quick.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
And for me, the things that make it so immersive are the floating. Is it islands? Floating islands?
Mountains. Or something.
And
islands. Wow.
Yeah.
I was so immersed in.
I don't think it's mountains because
can't be a mountain
because of the shape.
Flat. Yeah, it does look like an island for sure.
And the bioluminescence, which you only see if you go at night, which is another great reason to make this a night trip. Although they're only open till 7 in the summer, it doesn't get dark until 9. So I guess everybody's missing out if they're coming in the summer.
Yeah, which
is a bummer.
That is a bummer.
Yeah. So the backstory has to do with it's after the first movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You know the specifics offhand?
So the story that I remember from when they were doing the marketing for this land's story as it was debuting was that after the events of the first film, where humans and the Na'vi interacted very negatively, this is a world where the Na'vi have reclaimed a lot of the infrastructure that was left behind by the harmful human groups that were negatively impacting their world during the events of the first movie.
Right.
So things that were constructed for the people on the ground of these companies on the planet Pandora, well, they left behind their mess hall tent. They left behind, these robo mecha suits that people can get into as an example of of the artifacts that they left behind.
That's a cool one.
Yeah. So all of those, things put in place by, I wish I remembered offhand the company.
It was Ace. I was just gonna say, and I just typed into my iPad Ace, and I'm starting to type Pandora because I was trying to remember that's an acronym.
Right.
And it's on all the trash cans and like in different weird places.
So now there's a new group of humans who are who have asked the Navi's permission to foster some tourism and some like cultural exchange between the human race and the Navi's with these new with their new like expedition platform. And I think the new group is this Ace company that has formed a new partnership with the Na'vi to make these experiences that we're going on possible as like a tourism effort, which kind of explains why we're allowed into the land.
And then there's PCI, which is the Pandora Conservation Initiative, which is also represented.
Right, and that's Disney's way of trying to work in Pandora into the overall story of Animal
Conservation,
Kingdom,
yeah.
which, theoretically is conservation of the environment
Yeah.
in large part.
So that's interesting because it's got that whole backstory, and
Oh yeah.
you'll see these ace signs like throughout the park, and you'd have to know, you know what I mean? Because I don't think that's referenced in the movie.
No, you're really left to put the story together,
Or
which
finding out, yeah.
right, as some would say, that's a very exciting part of these highly immersed situations, is that you are kind of left to do some digging to find out exactly what the story of the land is as you explore it.
Right. So ACE stands for Alpha Centauri Expeditions. You think I said that right?
Centauri, yeah.
Centauri, which is the fictional eco tour company that leads expeditions to Pandora.
Yeah. Fun story. I mean, this was developed interestingly because a lot of people were really surprised that they picked the Avatar movies to be, and at the time Disney didn't own 20th Century Fox,
Mm.
so people thought it was really interesting that they picked Avatar to create a land out of. But when you see all this detail and backstory, and you realize that the land was a Joe Rohde experience, as is all of Animal Kingdom,
Right.
you realize that they did it right. They put in a lot of effort to get the park integrated with the new land, to get the new land fitting into the park, to make sure the story was seamless, and to add a lot of detail.
And if you can get somebody like me that's not like the biggest fan of the movies to love the land, that's really impressive.
Oh, same. The Avatar movies, they just didn't have as much of an effect on me. But regardless of that, the land is something that like really envelops you in the wonder of what they were trying to accomplish.
Right. And Flight of Passage is one of my favorite rides still. I mean, possibly, I'm thinking in my top 10. It's just such a beautiful experience that I think everybody should do if you haven't done it.
What is the ride like?
It's like Soarin', except for you're on a banshee, which if you haven't seen the movies is kind of like a dragon. And I guess the negative part of it is you are kind of sitting like you're sitting on a motorcycle, which isn't comfortable for everybody. But if you're okay with it, then it's just a gorgeous kind of journey through
imagination.
Yeah. through
No,
Pandora.
Through Pandora.
And I love how you can feel the banshee taking breath. So like there's
built
something
into the ride vehicle.
Right. So like where your legs are around where it's, I guess, chest would be,
right,
or stomach, and so you can feel it contract and expand like it's breathing. And I mean, what an extra touch.
One of the more convincing theme park effects, I believe.
Right.
In my experience. Like there's so few. I mean, beyond the framework of something like Extraterrestrial Alien Encounter, if y'all remember that, it was a Magic Kingdom Tomorrowland attraction in the 2000s where you had this encounter with an animatronic alien thing that was terrorizing you, broke out of its cage, and wreaked havoc on the development lab. And that used some immersive effects. I mean, that was truly laying groundwork
terrifying
for, extra terrifying. But some of the immersive effects were like sprays of water, drips of water,
smell,
like the circulation.
Are we talking about the alien one now, or are we talking about Pandora, or both?
We're talking about the alien one.
Okay, well, anyway, they both have that.
Exactly, yeah. But like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like now, when you ride Flight of Passage, you're like, oh, this is being used for something that's not going to traumatize me forever. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although when Bailey was little, that was scary, So I guess it can
Pandora?
be. Mm-hmm.
Oh, right. Oh, Flight of Passage was a little scary.
There's one part where a dragon is kind of, not dragon, I think maybe it's another banshee. It could be something different. It's kind of like attacking you,
Yeah,
you have to get away.
Ooh.
It's not, I don't find it scary.
Not really.
But if you're a little kid.
Totally.
And then there's kind of a drop.
Yeah.
It's a
simulated drop. You're
but
not going nowhere.
right, but
Well, you are a little bit, but
it's
you're not
convincing.
lowering really. And yeah, I think another thing that makes it a little bit potentially scarier for kids, and there is a height requirement, so you can't sneak some little kid on here, but it is very immersive. So
it's convincing.
So it's convincing and scary,
Yeah,
and you feel like you have nowhere to go.
And you feel like you're really diving.
Right.
I mean, that part where you're diving is like one of my favorite parts of it.
Right.
Because it really feels like it.
Yeah, and you also like
more
don't
convincing than
know...
Soarin'.
Yes.
It's just newer technology.
Definitely. I would say another factor about that ride is that you don't know like where you are in space, like in the building. You don't know.
Oh no, yeah.
You have no idea where your body is.
If you can resist looking around, I would, because I didn't really do that.
Look around?
Yeah.
I did.
I know, you said that was the first thing you did.
Well, on my first ride, I was seated the absolute sidemost seat. So I was right up against the edge of the screen, and I couldn't help but be totally taken out of it.
Oh, that's
Speaking
too bad.
of immersion, I was thoroughly not immersed in that first time. And I was like, I don't know what everybody cares so much about this ride. Because I had such a bad experience.
Yeah.
But then, when I rode it another time, and I was like in the more toward the center, and I couldn't really pick up on the periphery of the screen at all, I understood why it was so immersive. And I understood what they were trying to do the first time. I just couldn't get there.
I did not want spoilers on this ride, so I didn't read a lot before. I didn't read anything before we went on it the first couple of times. And I didn't even realize that you were in a room of a ton of people.
Right.
Like that, but that's something you knew right away. So I think if you're not on the edge, you can avoid it if you're like trying to focus.
Sure, yeah.
And it was a much better experience for me not having any idea that I was in a Soarin' on steroids type room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In Soarin',
like a big
there's
theater.
only 3 rows and 3 sections. This is way bigger, right?
Yeah, I would think.
You don't know?
No, I don't know offhand. Like, I don't honestly know anything about the show building of this ride, like mechanically.
Okay, I thought I was under the impression you got, because of where you were that first time, you could see more of how many people.
Suddenly Seymour.
What?
No, you said Seymour. Well, you said Seymour.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't. All I could see was the edge of the darn screen.
Oh no!
You know what I mean? Like I was
Terrible.
So up against and it wasn't like the edge of the screen was right in front of me. There's no seat in the ride where it's like that. It was close enough to my left eye, because I was leftmost, that it's all I could like look at. I didn't need to use my peripheral vision to see it, so I saw it the whole time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I could be wrong, but I think that it's like double the size of the Soarin' Theater.
It's a pretty, like, you feel like you're flying. It's so immersive.
Yeah.
Like, it really does the job nicely.
Right.
Is that, like, in your opinion, is that the most in the adventure of Pandora you feel is when you're on that ride? Or is it when you, like, first see the mountains? Or, like, when does it really set in for you?
Oh, that's a tough question. It depends. I mean, yeah, it depends. It's hard because when we were seeing it for the first time, it's because everything was brand new and being built and stuff.
Yeah.
So seeing the is it islands? Did you look it up?
It's mountains.
Really?
Indeed.
Flat top mountains. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
They
kind of look like upside down mountains.
That makes sense.
I guess.
Okay. Anyway, when you could first see those, but the land wasn't open yet, it was like such a cool thing.
Yeah.
And it's still a cool thing to see because they're floating. You know what I mean?
If you don't walk in from the Africa side and you walk in through what is that?
Over the bridge that you're supposed to walk in?
Yes.
Can you walk in on a different way?
I
don't think you can walk in a different way. I think you
have
have to go in.
Pandora from Africa, though?
I think you've got to go up past Starbucks and then take a right. If you're coming from Africa, you've got to go all the way up.
When you walk in the way that I'm used to, whatever, and you
passing the Lion King statue there on the left.
The Lion Kings. Oh yeah. That's right.
Where they're
that thing, the log thing.
Yeah. Okay.
That
that restaurant that we went to, the bar on the right.
Right. When
Nomad
you're walking
Lounge.
that way and you come in and you can't really see the mountains yet, but you see that big pod thing on the right.
I think that's the only way you can get it.
where it spits out the water. I
Uh,
like that moment a lot because it is so otherworldly. It like forces you to like
yeah,
buy into the land a little bit
that
more.
bridge is supposed to ease you in.
Yeah.
Um, and it'd be like a
There's some mist.
if there's another way to get in, I haven't gone that way, and maybe that's for the
I might
better.
just be like making it up in my mind. I didn't like. I wasn't absolutely sure, but I thought there. I thought for a passing moment that there was, but it doesn't.
I
It
guess
wasn't what I was
if
saying
there's
anyway.
an entrance down by like the Festival of the Lion King, I wouldn't really even know.
Yeah. I don't.
Um. Anyway, yeah. So I guess I would say that that ride is the most immersed I feel. But just walking around that land in general, they succeeded with these details in such a way that you feel like you're on a different planet, except for the fact that you're surrounded by tourists.
Yeah, I can't help that.
But there's bioluminescence on, like painted onto the ground. There's mist. There's the mountains. All of the plants were individually picked out, and are just amazing. You know?
The horticulture is great.
Yeah,
That's probably my favorite part of the. Obviously, the mountains are cool, but to see all the different types of plants that they assembled to make it look so weird and different in there. I love seeing all the colors. And like you're saying with the bioluminescence, when they shine those colorful purple and blue lights into all the plants and the bioluminescence is lit up on the sidewalk. Nighttime the details really shine through over there.
yeah, yeah. Nighttime
Love that.
is definitely my favorite time to be over there. So if you can swing it,
Yeah,
that's the time to
you
go.
should.
There's one more ride over there, and I know it
Yeah.
gets a little bit of uh, negativity because it's kind of simple boat ride,
Yes.
um, but it's a not thrill ride. It's supposed to be a dark ride, boat ride, taking you through um, Pandora, and for what it is, I think it succeeds very well. That the animatronic at the end, which is the shaman, moves so smoothly.
The shaman's great.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. It is like the only thing I love about that ride, so I don't do it super often because I do think the rest of the ride is a little.
You're right. I think you're right. I think there's a back entrance to Pandora. It says that this specific article says it's closed a lot, but
Interesting.
yeah, I don't. So I've never gone that way.
See,
I
somebody
always
must
go
have
the way.
directed me down that way like
Yeah,
one time
right.
randomly, and that's why I know.
And it does. I it's hard to tell because I'm just looking at pictures really quick because obviously we're in the middle of this thing, but it does look like it's probably back there.
By the Africa, the
Yeah,
edge of Africa.
right.
They're
And you do
building a Club 33 location over there.
cool.
You want to go?
Yeah. Our application's in.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. Now, if they
Did you
select
send
us,
it 33 times?
no, are you supposed to?
No.
Oh, if they pick us, coming up with the money will be another story. But
Right. You guys,
there'll be a
subscribe to this
GoFundMe.
podcast. What else can you do?
Um,
Follow us on YouTube. Do all the things.
but anyway, so yeah, I didn't even know about this entrance. Is that what I was saying? Sorry. Oh, you said they're putting a Club 33 back there.
Well, yeah, but yes,
You'd have to be back there for like Festival of the Lion King or something to see this entrance.
That's
I
where
guess.
we were coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is also if you walk along that bridge to get from Africa to Pandora, it's right along the waterway where the Discovery Island riverboats used to be, and that's where you can see a lot of the stuff that was built for that and left behind and has kind of gotten overgrown and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool spot in Animal Kingdom if you have the opportunity.
But you're saying that entrance isn't as great with the like instant immersion
it actually is more instant because I think when you walk in that way, you see the mountains from the side. It's the first thing you see.
Oh,
from the other side, you can't see the mountains. You go over the bridge. There's all this foliage, and there's this thing off to the side, this like big plant thing that you rub, and it spits out vapor.
Wow. Okay, this shocks me. I'm like a person that knows where every bathroom in all of Walt Disney World is, and I can't believe there's an entrance to something that I was unaware of.
You and I almost never go to Animal Kingdom, though.
We don't go very often, yeah.
Yeah, but just because it's so far away from everything else, and we're trying to get a lot of
And
stuff
I've
done.
only seen Festival of the Lion King twice. And yeah,
Really?
one of the times was for sure before Pandora was even there.
Right.
Um, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hey.
And the other time I think it was raining, so we were just going the way we knew to get out of there.
Right.
Interesting, interesting.
Well,
Yeah.
hey, now you know. There's a lot in this land that we've discussed that makes it really immersive about like the environment and the structures that they built and the plants and stuff. But I want to talk about how nicely they weave in the food and beverage situation here into
Uh-huh.
the theming of the land because I think it really helps with the
Yeah.
immersion.
Yeah, absolutely.
The
Satuli.
Satuli Canteen is like the quick serve
Uh-huh.
there, and it's served as the mess hall for. We talked about all this already. But
Yeah,
it's
and I'm
served.
really glad you can get a blue cheesecake or whatever it
Oh right,
is
and they've got blue
because
cheesecake dessert.
that just feels like right.
Yeah, give them
And
something to
healthy
hold on
food.
to. Yes, not the cheesecake, but the salad you can get healthy, or like the protein bowls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cheesecake's not fried. I mean,
What's the worst that could happen? Turn your tongue blue. Turn your tongue blue.
maybe.
Maybe. I don't
We
know.
don't know that. That's not
Are they
that's
using blue dye number 2?
I don't know.
Whatever the avatar color is. Yeah,
Yeah.
I really like Satuli Canteen. It's not like so the theming really comes from the fact that the Navi as a cultural tradition do this like natural fiber weaving thing that they do all over the like hard steel infrastructure that's there. So you get these really intricate patterns that they weave and they look very like tribal and beautiful and they're very intricate. So that's where most of the theming comes from in this restaurant is it's a pretty unremarkable skeleton of a building, but then like the chandeliers and a wall and a couple different fixtures are this like woven texture, and it adds a lot of interest to the space visually.
Yeah. Yeah. The details everywhere amaze me.
Yeah, you see more of the like woven because that's like a cultural in my mind, like a visual representation of them like taking their culture
Hmm.
back,
Yeah.
into the that's what the storyline I think is trying to allude to. So when you see all these woven things, it's cool because it's them reasserting their heritage over the stuff, and it
On
makes
top of metal and yeah.
yeah, it's like a weed growing out of the sidewalk,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they use it as the signs for the marquees. They're all those like woven statues. They don't, you know.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I like that they incorporated that theme not only into the restaurant but also into the attraction signage, and then in the queue for Navi River Journey, the entire like gazebo like structure that's above you is that big woven kind of texture. So it all, they've got those little visual cues that tie the land together that I think works really well for telling the story they're trying to tell and adding immersive details throughout the experience.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot of like forethought.
Yeah.
I like it. And then in Satuli Canteen, I like that the food is like it's like kind of not exotic food,
Right.
but it's just got some touches of like classic theme park fun. Like the boba balls feel so like
Yeah.
they feel so just like they're just a good time.
Sure, sure.
I don't think they add a lot to what's going on, like flavor wise or anything, but they look like little orbs of goo or whatever
Yeah.
that looks like alien food. And hey, they made an
Yeah.
attempt and I'll buy it.
Right, right.
I'm down.
And
I like the effort.
the area, like you were saying with the woven stuff, and it's just so obvious that their thing is nature. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
then having these bowls where you can get like brown rice or noodles and then
Yeah.
tofu or whatever you want on there, just it feels, I don't know, it just
Yeah.
fits in.
Like earthy stuff.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know
holistic
about the
from the ground.
cheeseburger
Pod.
pod thing,
I
but
think that's just
a
like,
stretch.
ooh,
Well,
it's
we
in a
had to
pod,
get
so
put
it's
something
space food.
familiar. Yeah,
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 like literally just that. I
yeah.
think that's as far as it goes, but
Right,
I don't mind.
right. And then I hear there's some fun drinks that you can get back there that are fun colors and probably have those boba things
And
too.
they've got, yeah,
Pineapple cheesecake egg roll thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
those are, you can get those at that little snack stand thing.
The one by that robot thing that you were talking about, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Giant
we've
robot.
tried that. We've
Yeah.
tried one of those.
It was okay.
It was all right.
It's like people talk about it all the time, like it's got a cult
Are
following.
we
So
talking about the drink or
I was talking about the
the
pineapple egg
pineapple
roll.
thing? Me too.
Yeah.
What is that? Pineapple and cream cheese?
Yes, pineapple cream cheese. Yes, and like an egg roll kind of wrapper.
It was just all right.
It was just all right. I expected more because of the cult following or whatever,
Yes.
like people talking about it all the time. But I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. I think sometimes I get these really high expectations and people are nonstop talking about
It's also hot, and we were there on a
Yeah.
hot day, and it was just like a mouthful of hot cream cheese.
Yeah.
It's a lot to ask of someone.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Tough sell.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, I think Pandora, okay, so unfortunately, because Universal beat them to the punch with the whole Harry Potter thing,
Sure.
unfortunately, unfortunately for Disney, the standard is Harry Potter Land. I have recently been to one of the sides of the Harry Potter just to see it up close, the Diagon Alley, and I don't know if this gets there with like quite the level of insane amount of detail. There's just so much land they cover over there. There's so many streets and neighborhoods for you to like wander into.
Right, and Pandora's relatively small.
And Pandora's like a little kind of like corner of Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little apples and oranges.
Rides.
Yeah, one quick serve, 2 rides. It's not a whole to do. So I think it's a little apples and oranges, but I think this was their effort to try to like match up to them. But I don't.
Was this what the first thing that came out after Harry Potter?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. In Walt Disney World for definitely.
Okay.
They didn't build new lands for a hot minute.
I know. It's not yeah. And now we've got
New
a bunch.
Fantasyland definitely was after, but that was after Harry Potter, but that wasn't an attempt at a highly immersive environment.
Right. Okay.
That was just, we're redoing Fantasyland.
Yeah.
And adding a bunch of stuff. But I think that's why it's more immersive back there. Like the Ariel,
I was just gonna
the Little Mermaid area,
yeah.
Be Our Guest, that's all a response to like...
Be Our Guest is so immersive.
Yeah, that's all a response to the wave of immersion that the Wizarding World kind of kicked off.
Yeah, and as much of I'm not saying I'm not a fan. I just, again, I don't have I don't have a little kid, so I don't go to that circus area of which I know that's not
circus, yeah.
But that is more immersive than what was there before.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Mickey's Birthday Land, Mickey's Starland, Mickey's Toontown Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. In any form that it was ever in, it was never as immersive as Storybook Circus. Right. Although I do miss its charm.
Oh, I do too.
That's a story for another time.
If I could go into one of those, like the 4 you just mentioned, I would be picking one of the older ones, but that's out of nostalgia for me.
You want to see the cow with Mickey on it? You remember?
Yeah. I want to go to the birthday party.
Oh my god, yeah.
The show.
Yeah. There was a show back there too.
Oh, I loved it.
And you can meet like Pete and all them too, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a whole nother
I don't know. Yeah. There was a petting zoo.
Anyway, Mickey's Toontown Fair does not make our immersive list.
No.
Nor does Mickey's Birthday Land, Mickey's Starland.
And not even the circus one. But now that you mention it about the timing and the Harry Potter, I don't know when Harry Potter came out because I'm not a Universal expert yet. Maybe I'll get there.
Yeah. Tune back in.
I haven't been in a long time.
Yeah.
Where I do consider myself somewhat of a Disney World expert.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we go enough.
Yeah. So, do you know about when Harry Potter opened?
No, don't ask.
Okay.
Don't ask me to guess that. I couldn't put a finger on it.
I wonder if it was right before New Fantasyland.
I actually feel like it was pretty early in the 2010s. I feel like it was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was like 2013 or something.
So that's like similar timing to New Fantasyland?
Perhaps.
Okay.
Perhaps.
All right. So are we light speeding
2010.
over to not Indoor to Batu?
Not Endor, like Star Tours.
Yeah.
That would have been fun. No, we're going to Batu.
All right.
This is definitely next up. So this is the big swing other than Pandora,
Sure.
is Star Wars
Sure.
Land, the big immersion idea. This is a bigger land.
Yeah.
Big plot of land. Takes up a big chunk of land.
Right.
In Hollywood Studios, it was Streets of America and the stadium for Lights, Motors, Action, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was a big space. And the backlot tour.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big space.
Yeah, huge.
I didn't know you were going to bring up all the stuff that's not there anymore.
Oh, sorry. I should have warned you that I was going to bring up some emotional stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. Yes.
But that's what, well, honestly, though, it's worth mentioning because for the people who experienced the park in that form, it was like, I think that contributed to the locals' high expectations of Star Wars Land. Because
Sure.
5 attractions went away.
If you're going to shut down all this stuff.
Right. It better be great.
It better be great.
Was what, the word was.
Yeah.
So people thought.
Especially since they have so much land.
Yeah, it was a big
I don't know if
project.
people really realize that they own so much land.
Yeah.
They own a lot of land they're not using. So yeah, it was a little heartbreaking for them to take out a bunch of stuff. But
always is.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because everybody's got their favorite stuff. So when stuff gets ripped down, of course there are, loyalists and people who have been riding it their whole lives.
Yeah, and if it were Disneyland where they don't have much land, I would have understood a little bit more why you needed to take stuff out to create this. But that's neither here nor there. At least this is an amazing land.
Yeah, it definitely reshaped Hollywood Studios.
Yeah, they've got. I mean, one of the best rides is back there. I think that's. I don't think there's any arguing with that.
Probably the most immersive Disney experience.
Yeah.
Well, so we'll talk about the Star Cruiser on another date.
Yeah.
But the Rise of the Resistance is by far, I think, their most immersive attraction because you are so deep in the story that you've already been through like 12 locations and the ride hasn't even started yet.
Yeah.
Like you're in so many different, not only rooms, but planets and bays and ships.
Right.
You're flying in and out of ships.
Right.
It's so wild. There's so many layers deep.
Yes. And the use of animatronics as well as cast members that are playing characters make it so much more believable than in other newer things where they're relying on screens.
Yes. Absolutely. And honestly, I think there's beauty to the fact that on this coast it's in Hollywood Studios because like that level of cast member playing it up to me is very reminiscent of like old Hollywood Studios with like the street performers and the citizens of Hollywood and all that.
Yeah.
Cast members really playing big parts, you know what I mean?
Right.
Even like stuff like in Rock and Roller Coaster when the cast member is doing the spiel back to Aerosmith on the screen and they
didn't used to do that.
How about backstage passes?
Right.
That kind of thing. I love that stuff at Hollywood Studios because everyone is playing their role because it's Hollywood.
Right.
So all of this like acting going on in the Rise of the Resistance ride makes me so happy. Right.
It's like the level of acting that they do in Tower of Terror and Haunted Mansion where they're really having to. I mean, I'm always impressed that the people doing these acting jobs are able to not laugh and smile.
Yes.
I wouldn't be able to do it.
It's wonderful. I love it.
Yeah.
I think it adds so much to the experience.
Right.
In Batuu, it's so deep too on so many levels in terms of like the cast member participation in the story. It's like the only situation where cast members can pick from multiple pieces to assemble their own wardrobe for their shift. So they get to like pick from a rack to like create their character costume.
Oh wow.
They're encouraged.
You mean for that ride or for
I mean for all of that too. And that ride they have set costumes because they're playing specific parts. Right. But all throughout the like outdoor sections of the land, everyone kind of has different mix and match pieces because everyone's encouraged to have their own character name and backstory a little bit, so you can go up to them and ask them, what planet are you from? Or whatever, and they'll respond to you.
Right.
Of course, now that time has gone on a little bit, as with most hyper immersive role playing theme park situations, it's died down a little bit. So
Right.
maybe it's not quite as enthusiastic as it was before. But it's still a
The
thing.
the ones that I've noticed a lot being in the land consistently are like you will see stormtroopers or
Oh, yes, there are characters too.
yes, right. There are specific characters, but they are playing their role, you know?
Yeah. I in this situation, even like the people at the front of attractions or load or whatever, everybody's got their own little thing. But the integration of characters into land is also, in my opinion, a huge success of Galaxy's Edge.
Right.
The fact that you've got these moments where Rey is taking a young person, a young fan, and like leading them on an adventure throughout the
Yeah.
land is so next level, but also so old school, like Disneyland, when there
Right.
were no lines for characters and
Right.
that's how it was.
Right.
Which is kind of like there are so few moments of that now. There's the Country Bears and Frontierland, but like Rey from Star Wars
Right.
taking you to sneak around the Millennium Falcon, it's
Yeah.
like a memory those kids will never forget.
Right.
And Kylo Ren having these like pre-programmed voice things to give, spur of the moment unique interactions to guests is really cool.
Yeah.
I think all of that technological innovation into this like immersive outdoor experience is super impressive. It all works in harmony like a living theater show. Like
Right.
it's happening all around you.
Right.
And now the Mandalorian and a little Baby Yoda animatronic are
Are
just kind of
coming or they're here?
roaming around.
Oh,
They're already
oh.
here.
Nice.
So there's a lot of life going on. There was planned to be more. Originally, there were going to be droids rolling around the area,
Right.
and there were going to be overhead like ships in the form of perhaps drones or something, is what they were alluding to. All of that got scaled back for budget reasons, but there is still a lot of motion to the land, and
Yeah.
there's like a lot of little like animatronics and stuff too, and like the
Yeah.
marketplace section.
Right. Yes.
The Ronto roasters, they have aliens that roast the pigs or
Mhm.
the boars or whatever the Ronto beast
Yeah.
to get the meat. And they've also got these little posts where there are these aliens selling their wares. One of them has a cage that's got a mini animatronic animal breathing, lying down in it.
Right.
There's so much cool detail in there
It's
that
everywhere.
that is the part of Galaxy's Edge that I love the most, because part of me, when I think of Galaxy's Edge, I think of those big cavernous walls around like the outside, and I'm like,
Right.
ugh, I wish that was more something else. But then when you get into the heart of it,
Yeah.
the detail really plays out like a story. Like you're going from the outer edge where it's a little more barren into the like big city marketplace where there's life and detail and culture and everything that you look at.
Right.
And it tells the story very effectively. You feel like you're going on a journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that I love and I find to be super immersive in this land is Oga's.
Oh, yes.
So this is a bar, canteen, huh?
Yeah.
Where the Rex character, who was the pilot in Star Tours before that got its overhaul, is now a DJ in this bar.
Yeah.
And I think we've discussed it before, but it's not just that. All of the waiters and the bartenders all have their story,
Mhm.
and they're funny. They've got
They're
their
drinking
songs, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that is incredibly immersive, and DJ Rex will be playing music. Occasionally, you get the Cantina song,
Mhm.
but then he will like malfunction for a second and say something he used to say when he was the pilot.
I love that.
I love it too. It makes me so happy.
There's another attraction here,
Uh-huh.
Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run.
Right. And the Millennium Falcon itself
Yeah.
is something to behold.
And that whole area with the tall spires and the really detailed like mountain rock work,
Uh-huh.
and then this like clearing and the Millennium Falcon is just kind of resting there. It is really, because you have to, the
It's
first time I saw it, I
awe-inspiring.
went the way when you walk up the steps. So I
Ah,
walked up the steps, and then I was walking down the steps, and I was just looking at the whole scene, and it was
yeah,
so miraculous. I was like, whoa, I'm like in the movie,
yeah,
which is exactly what they're going for.
right.
So it really, really nailed it. And then there's the ride.
Then
That
there's the ride. It has a
honestly,
great queue.
that though is like one of my favorite parts of the
Me
experience is
too.
just seeing the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah,
It's so cool. And
yeah,
then the queue is great.
right.
You get some nice back and forth. Honestly, the queue for me, I realized recently that there's so much noise that goes on there. Sometimes that queue is a little overwhelming for me to
Oh,
do it
really?
if it's for too long. Especially at the end, there's this room where you're in where you can see the Millennium Falcon if you look out. The window's on your left hand side. But other than that, it's kind of just this tunnel, and sometimes they play a really loud noise in that tunnel
Yeah.
that's meant to be like a ship taking off, and
Uh-huh.
everything is shaking or like reverberating from the sound. Ooh, it's so overwhelming
Yeah,
for
I
me.
wish you weren't in that tunnel space that much. It
Yeah.
can be a little like claustrophobic
And I found
feeling.
that normally I'm really not in there for that
Yes,
long,
I
but if
agree.
something goes wrong and you're
Right.
stuck in there for too long, it's not where you want to be.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, but once you get past the kind of windy part, although all that, other than the tunnel, really, when you're on the inside of the line, isn't bad. You know what I
No.
mean? But then when you get to where things are happening, it's
Right.
really, really amazing.
Yeah.
There's characters you see. I think that there's an animatronic.
While Rise of the Resistance, the Q story, for that one takes you to a bunch of these different locations. You get a little bit of that on this too,
Yeah,
because you're in this like bay garage
right.
where they're fixing up the ship. Then you go through that tunnel thing, and then you end up in the famous
Yeah, Millennium
interior
Falcon.
of the
Yeah,
Millennium Falcon,
yeah,
which is,
right.
the table where they play the chess and you get to take your
Yes.
photos there. I remember being so excited to
Yeah,
take that photo and just being like, oh my gosh, we're in the ship. How
yeah.
cool.
It's like this is where the movie was filmed, although it's not. You
It's
know.
wonderous. It's very Disney.
Yes. Yeah.
And
And
then
then the ride is just a little video game-ish for us, but
it's a simulator.
it's not bad. It's just not Rise of the Resistance level amazing.
I've got to tell you, I think the queue like outhypes the ride.
Oh yeah.
The queue
For
builds
me,
it up to be like this amazing,
mhm,
never before like felt
right.
thing. Like I don't know, maybe it's because Rise of the Resistance wasn't open for us yet
Right.
when this first opened.
Yes.
So I was expecting maybe like Rise of the
I
Resistance
was
level
too.
stuff, and the queue was so good. I was like,
Yes.
this is gonna knock my Star Wars socks off.
I read that they made a mistake by, I mean, this is opinion, of course, by opening that one first because it was like wah wah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it
For a lot of
definitely.
people, if you had been to Dave and Buster's before this land opened, then you had been on a small scale version of what this ride
An
is.
experience that kind of is already available.
They had Dave and Buster's had a like cockpit simulator, like your Star Wars like game, and that's really what this is.
Never mind the fact that there was already a Star Wars simulator attraction in the same park,
Right,
steps away.
right, with like no wait.
Right. So it really muddied the thing a little bit.
Yeah,
But oh my gosh, Rise of the Resistance was so worth all that wait.
and the land itself is, I mean,
It's
gosh,
more than just that one ride.
Yeah,
You know, it's
yeah.
something so
you're there.
yeah.
Yeah, you're there. Everything you said before. I mean, the cast members, the food, the food is all themed.
Yes, we haven't even talked. There's Ronto Roasters.
Yeah,
So that's where you can go to get a Ronto wrap, which in my opinion is the signature dish of Star Wars.
I agree.
There
And it's like an it's like a more flavorful play on a hot dog.
Yeah, or like a kielbasa,
In case you haven't,
like
yeah.
a sausage sandwich.
And they had
situation.
vegetable like chips or something with it.
Yes, and
That
I
was
love
good
those
and it was
vegetable chips.
different.
And the
colorful.
Ronto wrap has this like peppercorn sauce or something in it that is so
Very
so
flavorful.
good.
Yeah,
Yes.
way more flavorful than like a regular hot dog.
And there's a breakfast one.
Mhm.
And then
Breakfast one's
there's
good?
the docking bay, 54. 54?
I don't know.
Yeah, the docking bay is like that's like more like they take inspiration from some Latin foods, some Asian foods, and then they do some, little space like alterations to them. And there are some flavorful options in there as well. It's definitely one of the most well themed quick serve
Yeah,
environments
yeah,
on property, without a
absolutely.
doubt. It's like you're there in, in one of these. It's not quite a cantina. It feels like, what it feels like to me is like the rest area for everyone who is on this planet working on all the ships and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
That's
yes.
the kind of environment that's in there. And it's a fun time. It's
Sure.
lively in there. I like that there's so much thought put into your surroundings, what you're.
Yes.
I will say sometimes it can get a little crowded in there. I do like that there's kind of a slightly outdoor section that you can sit at,
Right.
that sometimes has some more available seating if it's a little too crowded for your taste. That's always nice.
Right. In addition to all the things we've mentioned, there's also a place you can get blue milk or green milk, which
Yes.
is straight out of the movie.
Right.
It's also
Bantha milk,
it's
right?
also yeah, it's also dairy free in real life. So if
Yeah.
you've got like a dairy intolerance or you're lactose intolerant or whatever, you can still enjoy this.
Right.
Flavor wise, wasn't my favorite thing in the world, but it was super fun.
People say they taste like Fruit Loops or.
Well, I like Fruit Loops, so
But you didn't like this.
yeah, this was I didn't dislike it. I just didn't
You're
love it.
not running back.
Right. I'm not gonna.
I'm not either. It wasn't
Yeah.
my favorite thing, especially in the hot Florida sun. I just don't know that I
Yeah.
need anything milk themed. But I will say,
But it is. I think it's almond milk.
yeah,
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
And if you want, they also do like you can get rum in it or
Uh-huh.
something.
And
They
there's a
do
cookie on
adult
there, huh?
versions.
Or is that just in Oga's?
Oh, I don't know. I've never had the cookie.
In Oga's, there's a cookie.
Sounds nice.
And then the gift shops are really well themed, even.
Oh,
And there's a place to make lightsabers and a place to make droids, but you have to like have a reservation and be willing to shell out a lot of money for
it's a
those.
whole experience.
Yeah.
And that definitely.
Michael
to
did
me,
that with a friend, but I haven't done that.
It echoes like in Harry Potter. There's like the wand thing where you can
Yes.
choose your own wand.
Yeah.
I think this
My
is.
parents had taken Bailey to do one of those. Yeah, when
I-
she was.
From what I've heard, this is more in depth than that is, even, which is, I think, impressive. It's cool that they've got so much world building going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
In character people helping you build your really expensive merchandise.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It is cool that there's such level to the story.
Yeah.
All right, we've got 10 minutes left. Do you want me
I want to hear about your surprise one.
Okay, I'm not going to, like, drum it up a lot
Okay.
because,
Because we kind of already have.
Have we ever talked about World Showcase?
No, not really. I thought about World Showcase and then I didn't include it.
See, I think the reason this is cheating is because
This
it's
was-
not a land.
This was one of our guesses when we were guessing.
Right. Like on the map, on the old school Epcot map, they did consider Future World one land and World Showcase the other land, and each land or World Showcase had their own pavilions.
Yeah.
So in that
I don't
way,
think it's cheating.
but it's definitely a weird one. But I wanted to talk about
Number
it.
one, though?
Yes, because
Over Batu?
because when you think about the size and variety being represented,
Sure.
it is like another level.
When I said I think I was talking to my mom, that I thought this might be yours, I was thinking you're so into like street performers and stuff like that. And World Showcase is flush with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's more so back in the day, but still a little.
Yes.
Especially at Christmas.
Yeah, especially during the holidays. But yeah, I just think there's nowhere else you can go in Walt Disney World and really feel like you have, if you take a fair amount of time to pop in and out of each one.
You got to go into it. You
can,
can't just be on the street outside of it.
Right. And in that way, that's how you get the most immersive land in Walt Disney World.
Okay.
If you because if you just walk through Star Wars Land and you don't even go into the marketplace scene,
sure.
Then you gotta judge it on what it has available. And what World Showcase has available is like so much extreme detail in everything that you see. It's really impressive. Now, I will say, the thing that I wish this integrated a little bit better is attractions, because I think the Circle Vision film model really had its appeal and really had a cutting edge
30 years
feel
ago.
to it in the 80s. But
40
now
years
that
ago.
everything is so different, I wish they would maybe go to an all over projection model or some other way to immerse guests, because the whole point of the 360 theater is immersion, which is kind of ironic because at the time it felt very immersive to have
Sure.
film all around you.
Yeah.
But now immersion means something, as we've discussed all day,
Mm-hmm.
totally different. Like we're in a whole nother ballpark.
Right.
So it would be cool to see them jump on those opportunities. But what we do have as far as attractions, in my opinion, like makes up for it, because all of the work is done for them. They don't have to work hard to fit these stories into where they are, because Disney used those places as inspiration for those stories.
Oh, yeah.
There's no work to be done.
Right.
Norway and Frozen, as far as Disney thinks, they're one in the, or is presenting, it's one in the same concept.
Yeah.
Same with the Three Caballeros in Mexico, same with any of the Ratatouille in France. I mean, it lends itself so easily because it's all part of the same source material,
Yeah.
all part of the same inspiration. So you get these beautiful, elaborate backdrops. Like you wander through all of France before you end up at the Remy ride.
Right.
Amazing. Get some ice cream, get a crepe, get macarons, get whatever you want, because you can experience a little mini France before you go get on the France ride.
Yeah.
You know, that's a level of immersion that, in my opinion, rivals these newer lands and was built in the 80s. So, you know, it gets feathers for being the first of its kind to be such an incredible, large-scale installation of a culturally authentic theme.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's my case for World Showcase.
It was
it
a good
really
one.
nails it for me.
We were like, we had kind of narrowed it down to either that or Disney Springs, just because the like very elaborate backstory of Disney Springs.
Yes.
Not most of, but some of our listeners might not. Maybe it's something we should get into at some point.
Yes.
Very interesting
we'll add it
backstory.
To the note.
Most people are probably just thinking out shops and restaurants like it used to be.
Yes.
But now it's got a wildly elaborate backstory, which
which is the name of the game these days. Themed entertainment, it's all about immersion, it's all about backstories.
Uh-huh.
In Disney's case, it's all about connecting your properties together sometimes.
Yeah.
Like painting these fun portraits of these overlapping universes. Disney loves to get into that kind of thing now.
Yeah.
The multiverse of it all.
Yeah.
The multiversification of Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like I think mostly fan created stories about the like linking of old animated movies.
But some of them are real.
Yeah.
Like Flynn and Rapunzel being in Frozen.
Right.
That's real. They're really there.
Yeah, you can see them.
So that's cool. I mean, really, it's just an animator Easter egg.
Yeah.
But, I mean, as far as the lore goes, you can't deny that that's, you know, Finn and Rapunzel going to the Queen's coronation.
Right.
How fun.
Yeah.
I love that kind of Disney whimsy.
I do too.
Maybe it's because I grew up with stuff like House of Mouse, where all of that crossover was really exciting.
I love the crossover too.
Yeah. And I also grew up with animated specials also happening. This is kind of toward the end of my childhood, but stuff where like the Fairly Odd Parents and Jimmy Neutron or whatever would do like a crossover episode that was happening a lot in cartoons.
Yeah,
so,
that was happening a lot in cartoons. Yeah,
I
think there's a Phineas and Ferb and Spider-Man crossover.
Right. That's oh really?
Yeah.
And Spider-Man, I hadn't heard about that one. That's cool.
Maybe it was just Marvel.
Crossover stuff to me was always exciting. So now that Disney is kind of leaning into that a little bit more because they realize everyone is so excited about it.
Yeah,
it makes me happy.
When Bailey was younger, she watched the Descendants.
Oh.
And I keep thinking that even though it's way past like when this stuff came out, that I would like to watch that because it's kind of a crossover.
Yeah.
And it's like a it's continuation.
Like same vibes as Once Upon a Time, which was supposed to be this live action show that had its own plot, but also wove all the Disney fairy tales all together. So in Once Upon a Time, you'd end up with like Snow White and Elsa and everybody are in the same scene. That was kind of fun. I never got into the show, but I always thought that was a fun concept too.
Yeah. I guess it was Marvel anyway.
Oh, they did a Marvel crossover?
It looks like it.
That's
Unless
pretty
this
cool.
is a fan thing, and then that's what I saw.
The
But I don't
internet,
think so. It looks like it was real.
the internet can be precarious. You
Hmm.
never know what you're looking at anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy out there. But a source for reliable information is our Neverland Navigation social media
Yeah.
channels. So you can check us out on Instagram or TikTok at Neverland Navco.
Yeah. On Etsy or Neverland Navigation.
Yeah, if you're listening on a podcast platform, then hi, thanks for listening to the whole episode. Make sure you subscribe to our show. And if you would like to leave us a review letting us know that you enjoyed it, then we would really appreciate that.
It's official. It's called Phineas and Ferb Mission Marvel. So I'm not totally crazy.
Nice.
Um, Sorry, where were you?
I was at subscribe to the podcast, or if you would like to see the visual version of the podcast and see our smiling faces, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel at
Yeah.
Neverland Navigation Co.
Yep.
And that's it. We're done being immersed. Let's walk out of this room. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Until next time, we'll see you
On our next adventure.
Goodbye.
Bye.